Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another metabolic conditioning or general physical preparedness day. This one isn't quite as much as I have done on some of the others. I'm probably going to try to film about 3 of these every week, unless I'm kind of just doing a deload thing, which will happen periodically, to where you guys are going to see me film for almost a week, which includes my training. But people are pretty much used to that. So outside of that, I'm just going to try to do maybe 3 of these every week, just to keep them in the rotation, so that we'll have, most weeks we'll have 7 days of training footage from me. Obviously it's not everything that I do, but it does give a better idea of the totality of my training. Now, because yesterday was my dynamic effort squat and deadlift day, sometimes my legs can be a little fatigued, so I'm not going to do quite as much lower body stuff. So it's just going to be the 3 rounds of this stuff, and I'm not going to do anything else for my lower body. I'm going to focus a lot on chins today and grip work, because mainly I need to get more of my upper body stuff a little bit done today, as far as even the conditioning in, so that I don't do what I did as much last week of doing 50 dips, like 100 dips on a Saturday, then 50 on Sunday, and then it made benching a little bit harder, right? It made benching harder on Monday for max effort work. So I've got to keep that in check. So I want to be able to focus a little more on chins today and some dips, and then not go super hard on dips tomorrow. And I can do a little more lower body, but I also want to get a lot of chins. I want to try to get 100 chins in today through the day, and I want to work on my grip some more, and then have the grip recovered by the time my max effort day rolls around on Tuesday for deadlifts, because I got to do a max effort deadlift. So I need my grip to be stronger, and I need it to be recovered. So what people also need to remember, I think some people had actually thought that this is the entirety of my step-up strength, but if you guys watch my Tuesdays, I do weighted step-ups, and I do them with a 70-pound barbell. I do them with 70 pounds for 5 sets of 10. So realistically, no, this is not a true gauge of what my step-up strength is. This is just conditioning. And the first set of these, I went a little easy with 15 per leg, and I went 20 plus on the next 2. You lose count at a certain point. But again, guys, this is conditioning work. This is circuit training, right? When you see people circuit training at the gym, this is the same thing, but this is done with bigger real exercises. So this is not intended to be my limit sets. This is taxing to the cardiovascular system, because you do some fairly high rep, big body weight movements that use different muscles. And you do them in sequence so that you keep your heart rate elevated, you keep your breathing deep. So this is conditioning, but because we have a strength component to it, it does add to your training volume. There is a small anabolic element to it, right? So essentially it's like HIIT cardio in its own way. It is a form of HIIT cardio. It is a form of it. And even if these circuits take up to 5 minutes to complete, 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes to complete, depending upon how many reps you're doing on stuff, it's conditioning, right? It's cardio. True cardio, not endurance type cardio, but actual higher intensity cardio, because your heart rate goes up, your breathing goes up pretty high when you're doing this stuff. Because again, these are big movements, especially if you're at a higher body weight. It's one thing to do these when you weigh 120, but I weigh 220. And of course I'm doing them with my boots and stuff, not that the boots count for that much, but I weigh 220 pounds. It adds up, it's cumulative. And, when you do a lot of this stuff, it becomes true conditioning work. And it's the whole point of this stuff is, again, to do what? To give us a small anabolic signal in the body, right? To re-spark our muscle protein synthesis, to give an anabolic effect in some of the lagging muscle groups. But in this case, every muscle in my body is getting work. But it's there for conditioning purposes. This increases your work capacity. It increases your cardiovascular fitness. It increases your recovery. And that's a big part of it. This is why Metcon works in a concurrent periodization type system really, really well, because your other training has to be optimal. Right? We are literally optimizing the weekly flow of the sequential performance elements. We are running optimal volumes, optimal intensities, and trying to maximize those things. This flows into it because it gives you easy to recover from additional stress. It can, again, re-spark some muscle protein synthesis. It can stimulate muscle growth. It trains a lot of your weaker muscle groups. Like in this case, I know I need more pec and I need more quad, right? Now, a lot of people say, well, you need more arms too. Well, yeah, but I'm not a bodybuilder. And most bodybuilding proportions come from pinning their arms. You guys forget that. You have to remember almost every bodybuilder on earth, including naturals, inject their arms. So when you're pinning stuff in your arms, you're going to have different proportions. And they're usually genetically gifted in their arms. So those are not necessarily purely my weak links. Now, do I need more bicep and tricep? Sure. That'll help my bench press. That'll help my strength. But this helps with it. Doing lots of chin-ups and lots of dips will help. I'm trying to hit 400 to 500 chin-ups every week. When you weigh 220, 400 to 500 chin-ups a week is going to stimulate the biceps some. And I think people are more surprised when I put a shirt on, my arms look bigger than they do in person. Or with the shirt off. I don't mean in person. Sorry, I'm mumbling. I apologize for that. That's going to go into people's little memes. Oh my God. You know what? I'm just going to leave it in. I don't care. I'm going to leave it in. But the point is that it's because things like my back and torso and everything are pretty dang big that it does make my arms look smaller. Then when I get in a t-shirt, people think that they look fairly jacked. Or if they see in person overall measurements, probably at this point, they're reasonably big. But I'm not a bodybuilder. And I just don't have great arm genetics. And we all know that. So they're going to grow from what I'm doing, though. Again, you do 400 or 500 chin-ups every single week. When you weigh 220, you're going to see some bicep growth. So it all adds up for that. But ultimately, everything grows from this. Because you look at a circuit like this and look at the muscles involved. Okay, we've got a weighted carry. Weighted carry already builds a lot of stuff. Followed by chin-up. Chin-up is like almost a squat for the upper body. Dips, which some people call a squat for the upper body. I don't know which one is supposed to be a squat for upper body. It could be both of them. That alone has already caused an enormous amount of muscle stimulation through your body. Then these step-ups, quads, glutes, glute ham raises, best hamstring exercise ever. And all of these hit your abs. Every one of them hit your abs and core. So you've got a Metcon that's basically a full body workout. Every muscle is getting worked. It is getting a very, very small amount of growth stimulation that adds to the rest of your training through the week. And again, it kind of flows in with the other training, because if you're training pretty hard with very, very heavy weights and things, a lot of tension, and then you're coming behind and doing these in between, you're re-stimulating a little bit of muscle protein synthesis to just reinforce the extra growth. And again, some of the weak links are getting trained. A lot of my weak links are getting pretty good amount of work from all this stuff. And it adds up, it helps. Because again, it's all about weekly training volumes, not just one session. So this does add up and it's cumulative. Because some of my sessions are very high volume for those muscle groups with real tension. So again, it adds to it. It adds to it. And it gets us into shape. And it's one of the things that we have to remember. The in shape is important for all athletes, but even strength athletes. And that's a big, big misconception that people have out there. And that's one of the things that we have to break, is dispel this myth. People think that the way that elite powerlifters train is different from other athletes. They really have that misconception, or they think that they're out of shape. And to a lot of people, there's a weird misconception due to a very, very, very tiny percentage of powerlifters that they think strength athletes are all fat and that they do just one rep and they don't do conditioning work. And literally nothing would be further from the truth. In my experience, if you look at the average bodybuilder, for example, compared to most elite powerlifters in the systems that people have used for a long time, powerlifters do more total reps per week, oftentimes, than the bodybuilders. They do more conditioning oftentimes than the bodybuilders. But people don't seem to know that. They seem to be legitimately unaware. They seem to be unaware. And that's okay. But again, this is here to get you into shape, doing work capacity. You got to get in shape. And this is, again, as I've been saying, this is part of conjugate training, to do a fair amount of general physical preparedness. Because what are your various cornerstones of the training? Number one, max effort work, right? That's your big one. If you want to get strong, maximally strong, you have to train with maximum weights. You have to do max effort work. at a fairly high frequency. Right, max effort work, which a lot of people would say, okay, that is powerlifting. Yeah, that's one of the 4 cornerstones. Max effort work. Not necessarily with just your classic power lifts, though. Number 2, dynamic effort work. Speed training, compensatory acceleration training. Okay, which also has a very large hypertrophic effect. But you have to be as explosive as possible. I'm going somewhere with all this, and hopefully people grasp it. This is a complete training system. This is not a powerlifter system. Why? Because powerlifting is just a side effect of being athletic and strong. Okay? And I want to make that very, very clear. Every big, strong athlete on earth could walk in and win powerlifting meets. Hopefully people understand that. Powerlifting is not a technical sport. So let's come over to what we're talking about here. This program gets you maximally strong, so the side effect is it'll make you a good powerlifter. Not a powerlifting program. But speed work, repetition work, or hypertrophy to bring up all of our weak links. That's number 3. Number 4, conditioning, general physical preparedness or metabolic conditioning, so that you have a higher work capacity and that you're in shape for better recovery. Well, that's the cornerstone of every single great athletic program out there. Maximum strength, explosiveness, hypertrophy, and conditioning. Basically what it means. It's an adaptable, complete system. And this is a critical component to it. It's a critical component to it. Conditioning. So again, this was pretty easy today. I'm going to focus mostly on chin-ups and grip work the rest of the day. So today we didn't go super hard on conditioning, but it's enough to help. It helps add to our cumulative work for the week. I got my heart rate up a little bit, got my breathing up. So this will be one of my easiest. This is probably going to be my easiest workout of the week right here. Easiest one. So again, not a problem. And ultimately, again, it's just these 5 exercises works the full body. A lot more volume on the step-ups on these than anything else, but I'm doing them one leg at a time, so we can count each leg as a different exercise in the rotation. And yeah, and that's what takes more of the time. But those reps add up. They add up a lot when you're over 200 pounds. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.